The headlines this morning says, "What a party! Glad you could come." And of course it really was an extravaganza, and boy, it was a big party. And so finally, after 4 years, I was thinking about, it's hard to believe because, we've been hearing all this for 4 years, and 4 years seemed to go by pretty quickly, didn't it? So it's finally happened. The Olympics are here. And, as I sat and watched this extravaganza on television, and I'm sure perhaps being there would have maybe made a difference in terms of the feeling, because it's the energy that's created where people come together. And I could see where it was an extravaganza, but I'm sure that it didn't have the impact with me individually, or perhaps you as you're watching your own television. Also, I'm sure it came wherever we were coming from, in our own emotional frame of reference is how we reacted and responded. But as I thought about that, I was thinking that I'm sure I would have had a greater energy, or maybe more emotional stimulation if I had been there. And then I thought, that's true about anything. We need to be together to have an emotional stimulation. We need to be with other people. We need to be in an energy. We need to be in a group consciousness to have something really happen that stimulates us and generates a deep feeling. And that's the same whether it's church on Sunday morning, whether it's a class. In fact, remember in Megatrends, one of the things one of the concepts in that book was that as we become more high-tech, a high-tech society, that the more people are going to want to be with people. And they said even though they have all these large screens available where people can sit in their homes and have reruns of the Olympics or films or whatever, that they are going to want to go to theaters because they need that contact of being with people that laugh together or even cry together. So there is a need for contact. There's a need to be in a group experience. And that need is what stimulates our emotions and our feeling nature. Anyhow, I wrote down just a few notes that I'm going to share because you know what? This whole Olympic trip is a big metaphysical experience, and I'm sure you're aware of that. You're aware that, and I could stand here and give you a wonderful analogy and talk about it. We can be on the winning team, and we are, and so on and so forth. And I might do a little of that, but basically, I just wanted to share a few ideas about some of the statements made by different people and commentators as I watch the opening ceremonies. And also, I'd like to talk a little bit about Las Vegas, the INTA conference, because the theme of the INTA conference was "You are born a winner." Well, I realized that I suppose they were thinking ahead to Olympics, and that's why they chose that theme. However, I must tell you, I didn't see many winners around Las Vegas. And you know what? It's true. We are born a winner, but most of us don't know that. People go to Vegas and they all want to be winners, but actually, psychologists state that those that are really addicted to gambling really subjectively want to be losers. And so that is a truth, because you see, winning or losing is all in consciousness. And so, this whole Olympic gold is a really kind of a metaphysical, it's really fun, and it is going to be a great giant party. I do feel that yesterday was it had a tremendous emotional impact. I'm feeling, personally, I could have done with a little of the Hollywood stuff, but that's all right. I do feel that they had in mind that how many billions of people in the world are going to view portions, at least, and maybe of the Olympic ceremonies, the opening ceremonies, and the Olympic Games themselves, and that we wanted to put our best foot forward, that we want to show that Los Angeles and California and the USA is really something special and wonderful, and I think we most certainly did that. The headlines in this morning's Times said that I think something like 93,789 cheered the USA. And it was exciting, and it was a lot of energy. And that in some of these statements, one of them was, "The dream begins with freedom." And of course, to have 140 countries participating really is wonderful. And many of those countries I never even heard of. I'm embarrassed to tell you that. But there are little countries and little pockets hidden. It may be in the vast across Arabian desert or in the Middle East or a little island out in the middle of the Indian Ocean, yet they were there. And so the dream began for all those that made the team. And you know that extravaganza did stir the emotions of 90,000 people. And the director said, and I'm sure you heard this, but I'm going to share it with you anyhow, that he wanted that opening ceremonies to be an emotional experience, and that he wanted people to have a 20 goosebump experience. And so I'm sure they did. And of course you saw the tears that were in many eyes as they panned the audience and showed some of the celebrities, and that people were very moved. Another statement, that the human spirit soars and we strive for the best in us. John Williams, who wrote the music for the official music for the Olympics, and will be played it when they have when the medals at the medal time. The human spirit soars and we strive for the best in us. Another comment, that there is that within us that rises to the occasion, and that there is a champion in all of us. And of course, the very moving closing portion of the opening ceremonies, when the song made famous by Diana Ross, and she sang, and everyone sang, reach out and touch somebody's hand and make this a better world if you can. And you know, so many of those concepts. As I drove up the alley to come to church this morning, there's a sign down at the corner, and it says, be the best. And so here we are with all these themes and all these ideas and concepts that are being shared and reiterated and will be for the next 2 weeks, and they're all a part, really, of what you and I are trying to do as we re-educate our belief system, as we re-educate our emotional nature, so that we can let the highest and the best be an active dynamic in our lives, so that yes, we can stand up and be counted. Dr. Holland says you aren't counted sitting down, you've got to stand up. And you see, all these years that I've been a part of this teaching, and I've been a part of my own growth process, it has been to move towards that self-esteem and that self-worth and that self-approval and that idea that I was born a winner, so that I can stand up and be counted. And you see, I do know that I do that, and I know that you do that also. And I also know that we do make a difference, but we need to accept that. We need to accept that who we are and what we are, and that we're in this church or wherever we happen to be in our growth process, that we make a difference. And so the impact of all these thousands of athletes as they come together to compete against each other. And you know, there's going to be lots of joy, and there's going to be lots of disappointments. There's going to be laughter, and there are going to be tears. But for the most part, these participants have said that they are so honored that they made the team, and that they are thrilled, and it's a thrill of their lifetime up to this point in time to just be able to participate in the games. And you know, you can make an analogy to all of this for you and for me and for every person, that we need to know that we have made the team of life, and that the greatest, my topic this morning is, what was it? Let's make a deal, right? And I thought, and I was thinking that God has given us the best deal we can ever have, that in the beginning we were created in the image and likeness of wholeness, and that this great God planted within each one of us, in the soul of us, the seed of love and the seed of life and the seed of eternality. And so God gave us the best deal, but what we do with the deal is up to us individually, that we have to learn that life can either be a bowl of cherries or it can be the pits, and that we make the difference by our attitudes and about whether we want to be a part of the winning team in life or we want to be a loser. And we are born to win. We are born winners. But unless we stand up to be counted and know that and accept that and work towards that, nobody made that Olympic team without a heck of a lot of practice. And yet we want to make the team of life and have life be a bowl of cherries, and we don't want to do our part, and we think then life is the pits, that life gave us a lousy deal. And there are many people out there today, right now, thinking life gave them a lousy deal. Life never gave anyone a lousy deal. no. Life gave us the opportunity of self-discovery to find out, to discover that we are born to win and we are born winners, and we can choose to either be a winner in the game of life or to be a loser. Do you know what a loser is? A loser is someone that repeats the same pattern, the same problem over and over and over again. And yes, when we are in our growth process, we do sometimes play those old tapes and we have reruns in our lives. But the difference is, the difference between a loser and a winner says, hey, I'm going to be aware and I'm going to watch it. And when I see myself playing that same tape again, I'm going to have the strength and the courage and the know-how to stand up and be counted and to count myself in the game of life, in the circle of life. And we're here because we have chosen to do just that. And one of the things, as I shared a week or so ago, that when we do this, that the whole universe backs us up and supports us. And I shared Chardin's theme that there is an unimpeachable wholeness in this universe, and that this wholeness and this power and this glory and this God and this light backs you up and backs me up as we move through the choosing, the choice to be a winner in the game of life. You know, this class that I'm doing, How to Enjoy Life in Spite of It All, is really based on how to be a winner in life. How to be a winner is to know that you win some and you lose some. How to be a winner is to be in touch with our emotion-backed belief system that says that I have to have this or that, or my life has to be this way in order for me to be happy. And the thrust is to say, hey, I would prefer that my life was this way, or that things would turn out this way, or that I would have won a lot of money in Las Vegas, but I'm not going to be devastated if it doesn't work out that way. What it's really saying is that as we become non-attached, as we're not attached to how it all should be, and move into a greater trust in this good of God, because this infinite already knows how it's going to be, and it already knows what's right for you and what's right for me, whether we know it or not. And when we once in a great while get our hands off or move into a frame of reference of preferences, then this great intelligence, this great God that's indwelling you and indwells me with that divine plan, with that divine destiny, moves in action, and it goes to work so that the highest and the best and the harmony and the order and the peace and the miracles and the healings can come forth through your life, into your life, through your consciousness and through mine. Now, you're born a winner. I do believe that. And I do know that life, no one is subject to their heredity, their environment, or their conditioning if they choose to get out of it, if they choose to be a winner, if they choose to get on the team of life and participate. Most people are not willing to participate because guess what? That takes energy, that takes discipline, and that takes practice. I read a statement that says, practice the presence of God as if you were a musician. And if we would practice the presence of God the way we would practice if we practiced the organ or the piano or the saxophone or whatever. And so practice the presence of God as if you're a musician. Practice, practice, practice. And that's what perfection and excellence and being a winner is all about. So what happens when you go to a conference, INTA? They said that there was 1,650 registered for that conference. It was in the classes, the morning intensives they called them, were an enormous room, but I don't know, I was around there quite a while, and I would say that maybe at the most there were only 500 or 600 people. Maybe they were all somewhere else, I don't know where they were. But what happens, and when you go to a CLMR or you go to a conference like INTA that ran for 5 days, or you go to an all-day seminar or whatever, that the speakers get you emotionally involved. The emotion is the key to life. Ernest Holmes over and over and over says that we are healed to the degree that we embody wholeness, or the God life as perfect health or love or loving relationships or joy or success or money or whatever the heck it is that we need in our life. To the degree we embody means we feel it in the very depths of our being, and we feel it so deeply we believe it. All right, now, what happens is that day after day after day, these speakers are speaking about principle, truth, reality, God nature, your nature, oneness with all life, and that we're here to be winners in life. And so this emotion and this reinforcement is generated within us because we are hearing it over and over and over again. Practice, right? You do it over and over. You hear it over and over, and eventually it begins to make a believer out of our subconscious mind, or it chips away at the limited beliefs that says, no, you're a loser. Only a few people are winners. I have to tell you something interesting. The only lines, by the way, was very quiet in Las Vegas, and the cab driver told me when he was taking me back to the airport, they expected that city to be jammed. No way, it was very quiet, because they expected all these pre-Olympic crowds to be going to Vegas to have a good time. I guess they decided they wanted to learn how to be winners in LA, not in Las Vegas. I don't know. Anyhow, the only lines I saw was standing in line to go into the coffee shop. So one evening, we were standing there, and there's slot machines everywhere, and this lady was up in her booth that gives change, and she said loudly to the line, that lady just bought $2,000 worth of chips. So we all look, here's this big machine, and she had just bought $2,000 worth of chips. They were $100 chips. There were only 20 in her hands, and it was one of these giant, enormous machines that I guess pays off $1 million or something. So I walked over with a good group, and we watched her. I didn't watch her put the whole 20 in. You know what? I just didn't need to, because I knew she wasn't going to win. Anyhow, she stood there and put in, I watched her put in maybe 5 or 6, and she stood there and put 20 $100 coins into that big old hungry machine, and nothing happened. $2,000, wow, I don't know. I don't think I have that much whatever to be able to do something like that. Somehow, some way, she must have thought she was going to be a winner. But winning is in consciousness, and again, we subjectively will set ourselves up to be disappointed by life, by whatever, one more time. And this is why it's so great that some way, somehow, through God's grace, God's love, that we're here in a way, in learning to enter into something that's deeper and more meaningful, and that will sustain us as we lose a few and win a few. We win more than we lose, dear ones, and you know that, and so do I. And so Dr. Holland and I want to share some of their quotes because I thought that they were interesting. One of the things, Sig Paulson, who's one of my most favorite ministers and speakers in all the world, who's in Unity, he said, some people have a slot machine approach to life, and I love it. That's true. And he says they think of God as a great vending machine, and that we can put in a little prayer and get in a whole lot of answers. And that's true. Some people do have a slot machine approach to life, and they do think of God as a great vending machine, grinding out the answers to their prayers or the non-answers to their prayers. But anyhow, one of the things that we find in life and what makes the difference between being a winner or a loser is that when you and I can learn to let go of our attachment that it has to be our way. Do you know, in the final analysis, we have nothing to say. We do not control this universe. We didn't create it, and we don't control it, even though we try very hard. And so what happens is that as we learn to let go, we move from expectations, which means that when everything is going our way, then life's just a bowl of cherries, but when it doesn't, we're devastated, and life is the pits. It means that when we're moving from expectations, that we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable, and we allow life and life's experiences and the people in our lives tell us how we are going to feel. When we finally have had enough of that, then we move into a frame of reference that says, I am here to learn who I am and what I am, and to give that allness of that which I am to life in a loving, compassionate, generous, giving way. Rather than trying to get, we're here to give. And when we learn this great secret, life just pours its blessings, its healings, its miracles over you and through you. Life, when you're willing to stand up and be counted, life says, I'm here, I'm with you. I'm going to reveal to you all the wisdom that you need to know and understand so that you can move into that great winner's circle of life and know who and what you are. Dr. Holland, who was a great scientist, he was a student of Joseph Murphy's and just loves him and reveres him very much. He's also a scientist, and one of the things, and he always shares all these little scientific little goodies, and one of the things, and you're probably aware of it, that science has been able to measure, he said, over 40 different chemicals released in the bloodstream by the emotions of the individual. And this includes how to release endorphins, and some of you have read articles, and some of you are in the medical field and you know much more about it than I. But what he says is that because they can measure the chemicals released in the body by the emotions of the individual, that the science can now measure chemically the power of prayer. And he says for science to be able to stand up and know that they can measure chemically the power of prayer, there's a giant breakthrough, a quantum leap in the evolution of consciousness, or this Aquarian age as it's called today. And that is exciting. You see, over and over again, the scientists are proving in their laboratories what metaphysics and the great sages and the teachers of God have been teaching throughout the ages. But we need proof. We don't believe it until there's an authority that says it's so. For those who need an authority, they're getting that authority. They're getting scientific evidence and scientific proof to know that there is a power in prayer, and something happens because someone prayed. And so you and I know that, but perhaps not to the degree that we should, perhaps not to the depth and level of faith that we should. Anyhow, one other thing, and the other thing is that he said, he made the statement that prayers are to release what I am. Prayers are for the purpose of releasing what I am. Think about it for a moment. When you and I can get into that space, to that heart space, to that spiritual heart center, and we can really enter into that with feeling, with peace, and we can touch that peace that passeth all understanding, that comes from this feeling of union and communion and oneness, of identifying with this infinite presence of God as the true spiritual wholeness of our individuality, then guess what happens? You're releasing chemicals that are healing to our body, and we know that. Biofeedback is proven that. But this is why it's so important that we come together where we can generate energy and generate feelings and emotions, because feeling is the law and the law is feeling. And so that what happens is that when prayer is for the purpose of releasing what I am, and all things follow. That is the truth, you know. And if we have to demonstrate something, that's perfectly okay. But the goal for the gold is going for the gold, is to go for the oneness, is to go for the I amness, and all things do follow. So the more that we practice the presence of God, saw a wonderful statement on a church in Scotland, and it said, it was a sign out front of the church, and it says, "Don't live in the past, live in the divine presence." And I thought, how wonderful and how right that we need to quit living in the past and learn how to live in the divine presence. And Dr. Holland quoted Carl Jung said that there are no problems without consciousness. Therefore, the problem is in consciousness. And you and I can change consciousness through prayer, through attitudes, through practicing the presence, through practicing the art of prayer, the art of treatment, the art of meditation, and more than anything else, through practicing the art of thinking. Because it does take some new thoughts to change old patterns and to bring something new and wonderful and greater into our lives. And then also Jack Holland made the comment, he says, our problem, he says, our belief is what I am. And because it is done unto us as we believe. So it's done unto us as we believe, therefore what I am is my belief. And therefore we have to change our belief about who and what we are. And that's what this church and this teaching is all about. That over and over again until you probably get bored to tears or bored to joy, whichever way it may be, that we have to over and over repeat. Repetition is the key to learning, and to be in a consciousness, into an energy flow where we can just be reinforced that I am, a statement out of our lesson Wednesday night. I am beautiful, I am capable, and I am loving. How difficult it is for us to say that, to believe that, and to say it with feeling. But as we begin to accept that we are beautiful because we're the beauty of God and life personified, we're capable because all the wisdom and all the intelligence of God's mind is within each one of us. And if we're open and receptive, that capability flows through us, and we can do anything we choose to do because we don't have to do it alone. And that the other thing is that we are lovable because we are the beloved of God. So we need to reinforce that I am beautiful, I am capable, I am lovable, I am life itself, I am that I am, and get in touch with the feeling of what that all means. Reverend Sig Paulson talked about that the Orthodox Church, when they talked about the Christ, really didn't know what they were talking about, because he says the Christ means wholeness, and that the Christ light means wholeness. And he says a ticket to wholeness is the ticket to your feeling. A ticket to wholeness is the ticket, and he says the ticket is your feeling. And so again, this emotional, star-studded beginning to the 23rd Olympiads in Los Angeles, California. Very emotional, stirring up a patriotic feeling for love for our country and pride in our city and our state. Yet, this is the whole key. And I shared with you a few weeks ago from the article in the Psychology Today magazine, how for the first time that the U.S. Olympic Committee has spent money to hire psychologists to work with our athletes in training, and that they feel that the real payoff will be in 1988. But at any rate, the other countries, the Eastern Bloc countries, have long done this. We have known the power of mind. It's just that there wasn't the money available to spend to work with our particular athletes, as mind power being a part of the training program as a top athlete, as a winner, as a participant in the game of the Olympics, and as a participant in the pursuit for excellence. And so I'm so grateful that God has given me a deep feeling nature. Sometimes we are vulnerable because we're sensitive people. We're sensitive to hurts, we're sensitive to others. And my soul was just aching this morning for Merle and her family. But I would never trade my sensitivity and my feeling for life and for my God, for all the success and all the power and all the prestige in the world. Like the pastor, God's been trying to get in that church for a long time. Guess what? The doors of my heart and my soul and the doors of this church are wide open, and that we do welcome all that are coming to seek truth. And so often have people come into this church that have later shared how grateful they were that they were accepted in this church, in class, right where they were coming from, without any type of judgment. And that is the truth. And so we are here to find out that the Christ presence within us is our true nature, the true I am, and that as we get in touch with this feeling, this releases this catalyst for this great creative intelligence, this great creative power, this great law to go into operation and to work for you and for me, for the highest and the best, and for our growth in life's experiences. All those that are led by God are the sons of God. And I've mentioned it, we've had this program before, and guess what? We're going to have it again. But what a wonderful statement. And I thought, gee, how symbolic. This is sort of, maybe didn't plan it, but the eagle in the symbology of the Olympics and in freedom, the symbol of freedom. And so this morning, let us get in touch with that great, powerful feeling that we are led by the Spirit of God, and we are the sons of God. And what I would like to do, I would like you right now to move with me into your feeling nature. And let us just move to that heart center, your spiritual heart. The very heart of hearts, the very heart of God, and to feel that center, that divine spark, to feel that you're one with the wholeness of life, and to feel that wholeness as perfect health, as energy animating, radiating, as a moving force through the cells of your body temple. To feel that presence as security and safety. For the peace that passeth all understanding is knowing that I am the Son of God, the child of the universe, the beloved of Spirit. And so we enter into that feeling of wholeness and safety and security. We enter into that feeling of beauty, for the spot